Holy shit. We need to talk about this juggling for literally an hour.
It's a California juggling and comedy troupe.
Jesus.
All white guys who have Russian stage personas. So they play the revolutionaries, and one of them plays the main assassin, Tarak. And
so they're not even actually Russian?
And they're not even Middle Eastern.
Layers.
They're just white guys.
But like,
so that explains why.
I have so many. I'm sorry. I have so many questions about this. I'm very concerned. In the casting process, were they just like, juggling is really big right now?
Very big, very big.
They're like friends with the troupe.
That's what I'm wondering. Like,
yeah, they go and see their act. Like these guys are amazing.
I think you're right though. I think those two jabronis went and saw a juggling act, and they were just like stoked on juggling.
It seems so out of place too, because like there was like a big battle scene, and one of them guys was juggling. I'm like, what the hell? Like if I was the guy fighting him, just like stab.
I mean, I guess maybe that's a good battle strategy. Just like,
someone else comes up behind them.
So surprising, where they're just like,
Are you afraid?
like you're just so shocked that juggling is happening in front of you that
It's
you
like
don't
General
see.
Grievous in front of you,
Yeah.
spinning lightsabers.
Making stuff is hard, especially in the entertainment world when there are millions of dollars on the line. And we are going to talk about these disastrous, never-ending, and sometimes dangerous productions. This is The Shit Show.
Hello, friends. I'm Ian, joined by Ray.
Hello.
And Clint.
Hello.
I don't know why that was weird. Okay.
Well, you made it weird, bro.
To start us off, I was gonna just clarify something about our last. We recorded in December last time, and so that might be why that episode was a bit weird, because it references things that were a month ago, but that was 2 months ago. And then
don't tell the fans that we are not on top of our shit,
Yeah, I know.
okay? That we are a month late on releasing an episode.
Little peek behind the curtain there.
yeah. Well, and I just flat out say I'm so timely, aren't I? But since then, I wanted to give a shout out to Jennifer from Ottawa, Canada.
Hi, Jennifer.
She says she can tell how much hard work and love we put into the show.
Aww.
She says she listens to the episodes, then immediately makes her husband listen to it.
That's awesome.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
She
Love
also
that spousal pressure. That's how we get most of our listeners, probably.
Yeah, right. He's probably like, I don't want to watch the Cloverfield Paradox.
yeah.
What I got? That's the beauty of this podcast, is that you really don't have to watch the shitty movies that we talk about.
Well, if you're my wife, you do, because when you guys whenever you give me
That's
homework,
true.
she's like,
That's
"Hey, what
true.
are we watching now?" I was like, "Well, we're gonna watch, today's movie."
That's
Hey,
shit.
some of them can be good.
That is true.
That's true.
Yeah, because that's the thing that a lot of people I don't think get about our podcast is that like, but that movie's really good. And I was like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is
still hard.
it was still a piece of shit to get to the good movie.
Yeah. Speaking of that, she also tells us to check out Ottawa's claim to fame, Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter, which would be a great
my
fit
God.
for our bad movie nights.
Oh yeah. Well,
That sounds amazing.
definitely adding that to the shitty movie night list.
Um,
Great recommendation.
And then also, Dinah from Ohio on Twitter said how much she loved the show and told us to please keep going.
Yay.
Yeah.
We're trying. I'm trying.
Ohio.
Look, I'm all the time saying, guys, please, let's just keep going. I need this. This is so much fun for me.
Well, we'll keep it going for those. We're up to 2 Canadians now, 2 Brits, and someone from Ohio.
And me.
Yeah.
And
And Clint, our biggest fan.
We're doing great. We're doing great.
I am y'all's biggest fan. The two of you.
It's getting a little bit
Creepy.
hard, actually. Yeah, with this restraining order that we just
Yeah.
put on. So now we have to record at least 500 feet away from each other.
Yeah, you're getting weird ever since we
getting
took
a little
down that
awkward.
glass
No,
box you were in.
the editing you guys do is fantastic because there is like a 3-minute delay between our dialogue.
You're shouting from like far away. 500 feet, Clint. 500 feet. Sorry.
Okay, Before we begin in earnest, today's episode is going to be one of those that is prime for a drinking game.
Ooh.
So those playing at home, you can go ahead and try this. This one ties back to a lot of previous episodes. So when you hear a name or a title you recognize from Shit Show, take a drink of your choice or whatever your vice is.
I love this game.
Okay, so a long while back, I was doing research for Back to the Future. Drink.
All right, you got
Oh
it.
wait, are you okay? You're telling us to drink? Great.
Because I referenced something we've done
We're gonna
before.
be wasted at the
If
end.
I
of
hadn't
this.
known that we were going to do a drinking game like this, I would have taken a lift here and I would have just brought a whole shit ton of alcohol.
You would have just passed out in the guest room.
I know,
next
like
door.
I gotta go to work tomorrow.
While I was doing that video, I was reading Michael Douglas's biography about why he hired Robert Zemeckis to direct Romancing the Stone. And that naturally led into the shit show he encountered while making the sequel, The Jewel of the Nile. And I've had that movie on my list since then and never really had a good reason to do it. But then Ray and I...
there's no like current movie tie-in. That's
Yeah, exactly.
happening.
Yeah. But then Ray and I, one of the reasons our episodes are so far in between lately was because me and Ray were in Hawaii, and I thought of jungles and mudslides, Romancing the Stone.
We had our own little Romancing the Stone adventure in
Yeah.
Hawaii. It was great.
Why not do the sequel now? So today, let's talk The Jewel of the Nile. So, Clint, what are you wearing?
I am actually not wearing, I'm wearing clothes, but I actually didn't wear something to signify what we're talking about. However, I did bring my 3D printed toon gun from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Okay.
I 3D printed this.
Holy
and
Jesus.
sanded it and painted it, made it my own little project, but it's the toon gun that Yosemite Sam gifted Eddie Valiant. So I 3D printed that,
Oh my
that looks
God.
put it together and sanded it, painted it and all that.
That
looks,
is amazing.
That doesn't look
3D printed at
3D
all.
printed, yeah.
This one was a labor of love. But yeah, so I brought my toon gun from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring Kathleen Turner.
Yes,
Oh
that's
shit.
true.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wait, is she Jessica Rabbit's voice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
We go off, and the picture's going to be done in Morocco. This is like the demise of the karma of the sequel. And lo and behold, while I'm doing pre-production in Morocco, we have a plane crash, and I lose 6 of my crew members: my production designer, my art director, assistant director. 2 weeks before the picture starts, I lost a good portion of my crew. So, and the movie starts with us not being able to even get the widows are all there on opening days of the picture, trying to get their husbands respectively home. Kathleen is not happy. Danny, thank goodness, you and Ree were getting along pretty good then. Yes, we were. So it was a rugged start, and I was so grateful for this guy.
What are your histories with either of these films, you two?
So I mean, I've seen Romancing the Stone a bunch, and I saw it a lot, in my youth. And I love that movie, and that movie has one of my favorite practical moments that makes me so happy every time it happens. It's the part where she's like following him in the jungle, and he takes her high heels and he chops the heel off. I'm just like, yes! Like because like women doing impractical shit in action movies drives me crazy. And so the fact that he like hucks her suitcase into the jungle and is like, give me those shoes, and he chops the heel off, I'm like, all right, cool, great. We're already off to a great start on this
Right.
adventure.
What does he say? Like, she's like, those are expensive, and he goes, now they're practical.
Now they're
Yeah.
practical. Yes.
No, that was
Or she says those were Italian.
Yeah,
Yeah, now they're practical.
Now they're practical.
That
so well written.
clip circulated a lot after Jurassic World came out because Bryce Dallas Howard goes through that whole movie in high heels,
Right.
for no reason, and they're going through the jungle, and she's running from the T-Rex
Yeah.
in high heels,
Yeah.
and it was just like, and then someone would play a clip of that movie and then show a clip of Romancing the
Yes.
Stone of just like,
Yes.
as soon as the movie starts, these are coming
Yes.
off.
Yeah.
I mean, but also, look, I'm not gonna shit talk somebody who for being really good at running in heels, because that's impressive, but
It's
also
hard.
it's very impractical.
Yeah, it's hard.
Clint's like, I frequently try this at home.
Yeah, like no. So I had never seen Jewel of the Nile.
Yeah, I
until,
hadn't either.
until today. I watched it last night, fell asleep, finished it today. But I remember seeing Romancing the Stone as a kid, and I remember thinking I liked it. But then as I rewatched it for this episode, I'm like, I don't remember a single thing about this movie. I forgot Danny DeVito was in it.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do remember, and it's only because my dad used to say this all the time when we were camping, he would make a fire and go, yeah, that's what I call a campfire. And like that always stuck with me. Having watched this, realizing what it was that he used to make the fire, I'm like,
Ooh,
oh, okay. I was like,
I was gonna say, how high was your dad on those camping trips?
I know, right? And I thought to myself, like, oh, because what it was it marijuana or was it?
yeah, it was just,
Yeah, it was weed. It was just weed.
drugs.
Yeah, and so-
Or did it say what?
I
I think it was just weed.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it was just
Yeah,
weed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so as I was watching this and I saw that he threw weed on the campfire, and I was like, that's amazing campfire. Like I want to be in that. And then I thought to myself, when my dad saw that, he liked it and he always laughed at it. And I'm thinking to myself, why was that so funny? And then I watched it again. I was like, oh, it's because it sounds like an amazing campfire.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
just warmth.
And so now anytime that I partake of that, of the devil's lettuce, that's what I'm going to say from now on. Yeah, that's what I call a campfire.
I hadn't seen Jewel of the Nile either, and for some reason, I was telling you this when we watched it. In my head, I thought it was like one of those shitty remakes they did in the 80s where they're just like, oh, we couldn't get the original cast, and so we just recast it, and it's just whatever. It's like tangentially, like kind of along the same lines where it's, you know, a romance novel. Like I'd never seen this movie, but I had this like misunderstanding or misconception of it that it was like really terrible. And so when we watched it, I was like, oh, okay. I was like,
It's not as bad as you
it's not
were
as bad as I thought it was
expecting.
going to be. It's not as good as Romancing the Stone,
Right.
but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
These were those kind of movies that were just always on television, and so I saw them all the time. And Jewel of the Nile, I always remember like the last half of that movie. Like I remembered most of that. I don't think I've ever saw the first half of it, but I've watched Romancing the Stone a bunch of times. It is a really good movie. Like it's legitimately just a fun action adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With some really cool little twists in it.
Yeah. It slows down a lot at the end, but the first like 3/4 of that movie is like
Really great.
just excellent.
My favorite part of that movie is when they're in Romancing the Stone is when they're in Colombia, and they get to that town where they're like, is there a car? Like, there's no car. Then they go to that drug lord.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he
Oh
opens the
my
door and he's like,
God.
you're Joan Wilder?
Yeah.
I have all your books.
Yeah,
You know?
that twist is
Yeah,
so
it's
clever.
so funny. He's like, I'll help you. Because he's like, this is my mule, this is his truck. And they escape from Zolo and all that.
I want to show you this field.
Yeah, that's such a good
Dude.
bit.
And he lives in like just like the nicest fucking house, which I'm sure probably is a real thing that happens with like drug kingpins down there, where
Yeah.
like they're in the middle of the jungle in this like palatial like estate, you know.
It's
But
kind
that
of
guy
funny
was
to
really
like.
funny.
I was pointed out as like the drug cartel are the good guys in it.
Yeah.
and the authorities are the bad guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Romancing the Stone, so we have to start there. Diane Thomas, Michigan born, studied marketing and acting in college. In 1978, she moved to LA to be a screenwriter. Guess what she was working as?
A waitress.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
of course.
her agent.
I think like being in LA, like wanting to be a writer, actor, something, like you just kind of have to start off as like a waiter.
Yes.
It's all a big
They all
conspiracy.
have their stories.
Mm-hmm.
Her agent sent her first script, Romancing the Stone, to multiple studios, and it sold in 1 week for $250,000.
Jesus Christ.
Bought by Michael Douglas.
Damn. Good work, Diane.
Yeah. So Thomas was being billed as the Cinderella of Hollywood because, like, how quickly that she just kind of turned around her luck on her first script. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
I was gonna say she wasn't a waitress for very long.
Yeah. So she hated being called the Cinderella of Hollywood because it undermined how hard she worked.
Yeah, well, that's true because it makes it sound like it was just all luck and that she didn't actually like. As we just established, that writing a screenplay is really fucking hard.
Yeah. Well, this is the only real quote I could find from her.
My mother always says, "How come they never mention all your education and the fact that you studied acting?" Right?
So it took 5 years to get Romancing the Stone into production. It was kind of like at the time there was a big rush to try to get the next Indiana Jones, or at the time Raiders of the Lost Ark. Kind of like people were kind of trying to chase that idea, and so this was kind of like one of those ideas that people really gravitated towards. So Douglas was mostly known for being Kirk's son, and he mostly did producing at this time.
Yeah.
Because he was very like, I need to know how to do two things in Hollywood.
That's really smart, actually.
Exactly. And just before this, his biggest thing was that he produced One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Cool.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
With his best good friend, Danny DeVito. Okay, so for the role of Jack Colton, these are the people who turned it down: Clint Eastwood, Burt Reynolds, and Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, geez.
I don't like Sylvester Stallone in that part at all.
Yeah,
I don't either.
He's not charming enough. Like, he can get the action hero part, but the charm's not there. Burt Reynolds would have been fine.
You better beware about who's listening to this right now.
But
You know Melissa's gonna hear
I
this.
think
She's gonna be like,
shit.
Rage.
Melissa,
She's
Melissa, I
gonna
apologize.
rage text you right
it's
now.
it's so true.
No, but it's kind of like...
She knows. Come on, she can't not know.
Okay, Stallone actually can act. He just doesn't choose parts where he
Oh, I thought you were
can,
going to say
right?
he chooses not to.
No. But he doesn't fit that role at all because
No.
the character is kind of more of a everyman loner,
Yeah.
right? And it's kind of like when we just watched over the Christmas break Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and nobody
Makes no
mentions
goddamn sense.
like why the fuck the dad is this enormous bodybuilder of
Yeah.
a man.
Why is this suburban father who owns a mattress store
Yeah.
a fucking like Austrian bodybuilder? It makes no goddamn sense.
So
You know
having,
this guy's a barbarian, right? Like,
yeah. So having Stallone in that part, just I don't know. I don't like it.
I think Burt Reynolds would have worked, and Clint Eastwood would have been terrible.
no, he's too like,
Too gruff.
Yeah, he's too rough. Yeah.
yeah.
Too mean.
He's a bastard. He's a bastard.
So to keep it cheap, Douglas decided that he would take on the role, and because he was acting, he was in a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But according to this biography that I was reading, the biography has a bunch of stuff in it that I was like, this is clearly a factual error. Like there was a sentence in there, I was like, that's categorically untrue. It said like the move Jewel of the Nile was ordered in the summer of 1985, and it was like, wait, but it came out in 1985. They made it in 6 months. Like,
Yeah.
like there's no way. It's just stuff like that. And so, but he makes a lot of the writer makes a lot of I don't want to say assumptions, but basically what he alludes to is that Michael Douglas really wanted to ignite his star power as a person on screen, and he really wanted to be a sex symbol. So,
Okay. Okay.
So
Hey, it worked for Catherine Zeta-Jones.
yeah, right. So I think this was kind of like, ooh, sweet, I'm gonna have my own Indiana Jones, Han Solo kind of role.
Yeah. I'm gonna also wear a T-shirt with cut-off sleeves and a vest in the jungle. That's what hot guys do,
Yeah.
right?
Smuggle birds.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned in the Back to the Future thing,
Bird smuggling.
as I mentioned in the Back to the Future thing video, he hired Robert Zemeckis because he was super cheap. At the time, there was all these big these kids coming out of film school like Spielberg and whatnot, and they were like, studios, give us money, we'll make anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And
We just really like movies.
yeah, exactly. And Robert Zemeckis was kind of nearly blackballed in Hollywood thanks to used cars and 1941 with
John
John Belushi.
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 Drink.
This is Zemeckis we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was his role in that? Because wasn't that a Spielberg film?
So he wrote 1941,
Oh,
and he
okay.
directed Used Cars.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So filming was almost entirely in Mexico for Romancing the Stone. It wasn't exactly easy. It rained way more than usual because all movies that happens.
Because that's how the jungle is.
Yeah.
It's unpredictable.
The
You know,
mudslide.
it's called a rain forest.
Forest.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Not a dry forest.
Not an intermittent forest.
Not a misting.
Yeah.
Listen, if you don't want surprise rain, film on a fucking soundstage, okay?
Yeah. So the mudslide scene took 2 weeks to shoot.
Wow.
At one point, Turner got buried. Kathleen Turner got buried in the mud, and when they dug her out, they were. She doesn't say what got her, but it sounds like it was a shovel, like went right over her shin, just scraped a chunk of her skin off of it. So the rest of the movie, she had to have like this fake skin wrapped around the wound. I wish I read that before we watched it, because I would have looked out for it, but
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
I was,
Speaking of
looking at her shins the whole movie.
Speaking of the wonderful campfire, so the downplane set, she also slipped on that set and it like cut her arm, like ripped it open.
Oh.
And so she had to get a bunch of stitches for that. And again,
Jeez.
more fake skin. They made dozens of the emerald stone until Douglas found the one he liked. And the rejected ones were then given to someone at the end of each week who got the most beat up.
That's cool.
That's your consolation price, the
Yeah.
reject gemeralds.
Yeah.
By the way, that thing is in the movie for like literally 1 minute a total of screen time. Like the gem.
Oh,
the
I know,
actual
right?
stone.
Yeah, because it's like he pulls it out and then, yeah, it's kind of.
And then it's just like, there it is, you saw it, and then it's like in people's pockets for the,
And
and then an alligator
packaged.
stomach
Yeah,
for
right.
like the rest of the movie.
So you said that dozens were made. So I was like, oh, I'm a huge prop guy, right? And you know my 3D
Yeah, why
printing
didn't
Oh,
you
yeah,
3D
really?
print one of those?
Well, that's the thing is like I was like, I wonder if someone's like made them on Etsy, right? And so I just got on Etsy and looked up Romancing the Stone to see if there's any prop replicas, and literally almost every other listing is Indiana Jones related.
Yeah, exactly. See, it's just not as cool of a movie as it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so the car over the waterfall stunt, that was obviously practical, and it was just like, we just have to do it. Like, there's no, how do you prepare for
Dude.
this, right? And the person dressed up in costume as Joan Wilder was guess who?
Michael J. Fox's stunt double from Back to the Future.
No.
Oh,
Oh, the creeping stunt double that just like shows up on sets and is like,
No.
hey, hire me.
What other stunt devil have we talked about? Speaking of Raiders,
the dude that went under the truck,
the horses.
The horses.
Yeah, and the
Okay.
truck of
All
Raiders.
right,
Yeah,
all right.
Terry Leonard.
the guy who was like,
Oh yeah, that we like did that the like whole video clip and
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yes, Terry Leonard. We've talked about him before. He's a huge stunt guy, and he's been around for ages. And he also, so drink on Terry Leonard, and then he also did the stunts, second unit stunts for Fast and Furious 2, 3, and 4. So
wow.
there's
Ooh.
3 drinks for
Ooh la
you.
la.
3 sips.
Look. We don't want to give people alcohol poisoning. Listen.
So he had to dress up as Joan, which is a no-no now.
Right. Well, because there are female stunt people out there who
Yeah,
can
exactly.
do that.
Exactly.
Just back then, there was like this one stunt guy apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it wasn't even a
Look at
really
Terry
an
Leonard.
industry. It
He's,
was-
he's
it
being
was-
dragged under a truck right now. We'll have
Yeah.
to get him next time.
Ooh, sorry. Yeah, he's unavailable. He's being trampled by horses at the moment.
Yeah.
So
hey,
we're gonna.
while you're laying on your hospital bed, do you want to go off a waterfall in a car?
How do you
Yes.
feel about constant near-death experiences?
Yeah.
Sold. Love it.
Love it.
Sign me up.
Well,
That's on my bucket list. It's a car over a waterfall.
so he went in, and the current sucked him underneath, and they had to use rescue divers to get him out.
Yeah, of course. When that happened in the movie, like, so they're in the car. It's like in the Jeep. It's going over the waterfall.
The bug.
Right. Oh yeah, but whatever. The car that Danny DeVito was
Mm-hmm.
driving. Right. So they're going over the waterfall, and they both are like, "Okay, we're going over. Bail." And I was like, "Why are you bailing? you want your soft body to like hit rocks at the bottom of this waterfall? Like, wouldn't it be safer to stay in the car?
Versus that would be like whatever speed that the car is going as soon as it hits the water. That's you hitting the dash.
Oh, I guess that's true. But like,
There's no airbags in Colombia.
but all the rocks though.
I mean,
I don't know. It's dangerous either way. I
yeah, they
guess.
could have died. Good thing it was a deep pool of water underneath them.
So how long was he sucked under? Like how?
I don't know. It was just like an offhanded comment that I heard on Corridor Crew. Actually,
It was just lucky that some rescue divers were there.
we
on
were
set.
already there looking for jewels.
Yeah.
Right. They're just like, hey, dive in.
You rescue divers? Yeah, we need you.
And lastly on that one, the intro sequence at the beginning, where it's part of her novel, was filmed in Snow Canyon, just north of St. George, Utah.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, I'm going there in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
yeah, there you go.
so
I'll be
that was-
driving through
Right.
there in a couple of weeks.
Honestly, every single time we see a western scene in a movie, I'm like, that's Utah. You can just tell.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
it immediately you know that it's Utah.
Okay, so this is Kathleen Turner on working with Robert Zemeckis.
Okay, I have to get my really breathy
Just remember,
voice
you're not
going.
bad. You're just drawn that way.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way. I remembered terrible arguments doing romancing. He's a film school grad, fascinated by cameras and effects. I never felt that he knew what I was having to do to adjust my acting to some of his damn cameras. Sometimes he puts you in ridiculous postures. I'd say, this is not helping me. This is not the way I like to work. Thank you.
So she kind of like throws him under the bus, but
Yeah.
then I guess it was fine because she did Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's your gun did play into this.
Although
I think it's because she
in-
didn't have to be on camera.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's like he can put Jessica Rabbit in ridiculous postures. I'm just gonna do this
That's
voice.
true.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna talk
Maybe
like
maybe
this
she was
into a
supposed to
microphone.
be live action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, no,
No.
you're gonna draw me.
Just
Yeah. You're drawing a fucking rabbit. You're gonna draw me as a voluptuous
Yeah.
red
Make the
dress
boobs
wearing.
bigger. Kathleen, she can't possibly stand under the weight of these boobs.
Well, speaking of Kathleen Turner's
Her boobs?
body,
Okay.
this was Kathleen Turner's third film, and she did Body Heat. That was her first big movie. That's
Okay.
Lawrence Kasdan's wrote and directed, and it was a noir erotic thriller that was kind of like
Hey,
like
Lawrence Kasdan from Indiana Jones.
from Star
Right?
Wars.
Wait, what did he write?
did he?
He wrote Raiders.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, drink.
Oh,
Holy
fuck.
shit.
What do you know?
Holy shit! Did I know a thing that you didn't know?
Because I
This
always
is a
I always connect
this
him to
is-
Star Wars too.
This is a wonderful day for me. I am so like
Screenplay. He did the screenplay for Raiders.
yes.
Okay, cool, awesome, well done, Jenny Ray. High five.
You're welcome, everybody.
So she was she was the femme fatale in that,
Mm-hmm.
and it instantly turned her into a sex symbol.
Mhm.
And again, romancing was only her third film, but at that point, she became after Body Heat came out, she was, as Michael Douglas told her, she had become a sexual target.
does
That there
that
was
mean?
a competition between him, Jack Nicholson, and Warren Beatty about who would get her first.
Oh, I don't like that very much. That's a little
Right?
gross.
Okay.
Hey,
There's a
back
quote.
off, you creeps.
There will be a quote that comes back. That will come back.
If I was a sex target for those three men,
Michael Douglas.
Yeah, Michael
Yeah,
Douglas.
I think
For
so.
sure. I don't like the phrase sex target, by the way. Let's just go ahead
I
and
don't
retire
either.
that.
That was her words.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I'm just
yeah,
we're leaving that in the 80s, everybody.
yeah.
Okay. Because of this, rumors almost immediately started that Douglas and Turner were hooking up during Romancing the Stone.
I mean, they had great chemistry.
Yes.
I will like amazing.
Yes. Yes. Very great.
That's like definitely part of what makes that movie so good.
Yes. Kathleen Turner's always denied that anything happened. In the book, the biography, the guy straight up says they were still in a sexual relationship. But when these reports got back to Hollywood, Douglas denies it entirely.
Mhm.
And he really kind of turned from a nice guy actor to like the hard-nosed producer. Like,
Right.
no,
He's
don't
gotta
fuck
sit-
with me. This is my project.
Right.
Nobody talking shit.
He
No-
became
no
Gordon Gecko.
Yeah.
No scandals.
Okay, so this is what Turner had to say about her time filming with the Michael Douglas.
We had a wild crush on each other. At the time, I was unattached, and Michael was separated from his wife, Deandra, so I thought this was a go. We were in the process of falling in love, fervent, longing looks and heavy flirtation. Then Deandra came down and reminded me he was still married. We were in a hotel in Valencia, having dinner when she arrived. That gave her a chance to say in front of me, "You know we're still married, and I have no intention of ending it." I thought, well, that's that. The last thing I'd do to another woman is interfere in that. I felt sick. It was thrilling to be falling in love. Then I felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach.
She always says that kind of the same kind of thing, that she was falling in love with him on set, but nothing ever happened. But the biography, again, whether or not any of it's accurate, said that they were lots of heavy petting going on. When Douglas is asked this question, he kind of avoids it, but he had this really kind of tongue-in-cheek response.
Kathleen's a real trooper. It's not always easy working with an actor who's also the producer. Even Bob Zemeckis would sometimes say, "I don't know whether to talk to you as an actor or a producer." But Kathleen was great. As for my part, I must say it requires some expertise to dive between a lady's legs.
What?
I think he's talking about the point where he falls in the mudslide. I think that's what he means by that comment.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that part so much. That makes me
Welcome to Columbia.
his face when he looks up and sees her thigh and he's like, hell yeah. It's so good. Oh my God.
That again, yeah, you're right. That is such a good character moment, because he's just he didn't give a shit. He just lost all his stuff. He doesn't care because he just went on this fun ride.
Yeah.
Romancing the Stone opened March 30th, 1984. It made $115 million worldwide off of a budget of only $12 million.
Wow.
So that was, and back then that was a huge hit.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I call a campfire.
Yeah. Burning money.
Yeah. Especially for what that was one of his kind of earlier movies. That was one of her early. I know you said she was a sex symbol at that point. And then new screenwriter. But that was back when people could write movies like that and they could be hits.
Yeah, exactly. The 80s.
Yeah.
The
Where people
80s.
were just like, hey, here's a fun movie about adventure in the jungle, and everyone's like, great.
Yeah. Let's
Now unless
throw
there's
money
a
at it.
superhero in it, no one gives a shit.
Yeah. Some supernatural element.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Jungle Cruise.
Rotten Tomatoes has critics gave it an 85% and audience at 69%, which is
Boo,
I think it
audience.
hits in between there. I agree with you. I think the first 3/4 of that movie are really great,
Yeah.
and then they get to the town after the drug lord, and then
Oh,
it
yeah,
really
yeah.
slows down.
Ugh, I hate his outfit in that town. It makes me so upset when he changes from his jungle adventure gear and then he comes out looking like a fucking disco dancer. I'm just get that shit out of here. I was so mad. His hair is all feathered. I'm like, this is bullshit.
It's funny that you say that because as I'm watching that part
Mm-hmm.
during the whole the last quarter, I'm like, something's off about this. And then now you mentioned it, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
This is
1000%.
his feathered hair.
Yep.
It fucked with my mind. I'm like, I don't. There's something about this I don't like, and I can't quite put my finger on it. But no, you nailed it right on the head. It's his feathered hair.
He's no longer cool.
Yeah.
After the success, Michael Douglas personally bought Diane Thomas a Porsche Carrera.
Nice.
Oh,
So she was living on Easy Street.
that she took to her waitressing job.
Yeah.
It turns into a pumpkin at midnight.
Yeah. That would be a really
Oh my
funny
God.
gift.
He's like, I bought you an orange one. Wink, 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 wink,
Yeah.
No,
wink.
he gives
It
to
says
her,
pumpkin
and
on
then-
the license
Yeah.
plate.
No, he gives it to her, and then when she goes to bed that night, he steals it back and then puts a pumpkin in the garage.
That'd be amazing.
So a sequel was obviously ordered by Fox that same summer, because at the time everyone was like, we got to make cool movies that will have sequels, right? So when they signed on to do the movie, Kathleen Turner, Michael Douglas, and Danny DeVito had contracts that kind of basically forces them to do sequels, which kind of makes sense why, like, Danny DeVito has no reason to be in Jewel of the Nile.
No.
Like, his character just like,
Yeah.
you owe me this. I'm coming with you on the adventure.
Yeah.
And it's like, why?
Well, like I said, I was actually shocked that the original cast was in this sequel. I was just like, oh, this is one of those bullshit 80s sequels that just like probably went straight to video and had some like Kathleen Turner lookalike in it. Nope, it was the original cast.
All the same one.
I was floored by that.
I loved his appearance and like whole thing through the Jewel of the Nile. As much as that movie didn't really meet expectations as far as the sequel goes, or even the original.
Yeah.
Like Danny DeVito is probably my favorite part. Well, some of his things that he says to some of the people
Oh,
are
are racist?
Oh, very racist.
very problematic.
Yes.
And like, oh, geez, okay, but
But he does, okay, I'll give you that he at least has an arc with the locals. But we're going to get into the locals and the racism stuff in a minute here.
yes,
Okay, so they wanted the movie made in 18 months. Diane Thomas was game to write a new one because like, why not? Like, this is my characters, whatever, right? But who do you think could have approached her? Was so impressed by her to draw her away. Someone
Spielberg.
Spielberg, drink.
Oh.
Steven Spielberg was so impressed by her, he hired her to write 2 different screenplays.
Wow.
The first was Always, which is a movie that I had no idea that Spielberg even made, from 1989. It's Spielberg's remake of a film called A Guy Named Joe. It's about a pilot that kind of
Those are both absolutely shit titles.
Okay.
yeah.
A Guy Named Joe.
Guy named Joe.
Guy-
What the fuck? That's
I
the
know.
worst title I've ever heard.
There's a tiny clip of this movie, and it is shown on TV in what other movie? Before it's cut to
Thomas.
fuzz.
Gremlins.
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
Oh. Oh my God! You all should be shit faced by now.
Yeah, those 4 Canadians are just like on the floor drunk right now.
So Spielberg obviously was working on this movie, and he like threw that in as like a little Easter egg of his own Spielberg verse, I guess.
Which is so funny because when he
Spielberg.
made Ready Player One, he's like, "Nah, I'm not gonna put any of my stuff in there," you know. And then
But how you made every movie in the 80s?
I know,
How
every
is it
single movie-
possible that not
he
a
didn't
thing?
put any of his stuff in there. The T-Rex is all in that.
yeah, I know, but I think that's like one of the dumb things they say. Like, yeah,
And Back to the Future.
I know, like they say, I didn't direct Back to the Future, so that's okay. And it's a big part of the show, so it's okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the T-Rex are like, wait a minute, you son of a bitch.
Well, that's legitimately stupid though, because the whole plot of Ready Player One is like, remember everything you loved from your childhood? It's all in one movie.
Yeah,
And
Steven
most of that's by Spielberg.
Yeah.
directed everything from our childhood.
80% of that. Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
You can't escape it.
Well, so the other film that Thomas was hired to do was the third Indiana Jones, actually.
Okay.
Based on, so she was working with George Lucas on his idea that would take place in a haunted house. Spielberg didn't like the idea. He felt it was too thematically similar to Poltergeist. So that
This
was kind
is
of
what
tossed
Lucas wanted.
for the
The
third
third
Indiana
movie
Jones.
was a haunted house.
Talk about like scope, like you de-scoping.
Right?
The second one's like we're in a like ancient temple of doom, and then it's like third one haunted house. It's like George. bro.
You could probably, I'm probably making these connections just now, but because nobody knows what Thomas wrote. Nobody knows what. They just know that was something that was
Lucas's,
kicked around.
Yeah.
But nobody's seen this screenplay or anything. But movies always have fragments of previous drafts and whatnot.
Right.
I'm willing to bet the third in Last Crusade, the mansion like castle is probably what that
yeah.
with the rotating
Oh,
fireplace. I'm willing to
interesting.
bet that's
Oh,
probably
okay.
something that came
That
from
left
her.
over, yeah.
So
I feel like when Spielberg lets Lucas off of his leash a little bit more than he should, we get shit like that, like Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
And so
We get
I'm really-
Indiana Jones and the haunted house.
yeah, the kooky crystal cranium caper. Like, so when they said that's going to be in a haunted house, I'm like, oh God, I'm so glad that they did not let
Yeah.
Lucas do that.
And Diane Thomas is like, okay, I
Oh,
guess
yeah.
this
I mean,
is
There's a
happening.
castle with the rotating wall. And they're like, brilliant.
He's
yeah,
like, doing
we'll
my
keep
best
that.
over here.
According to Kathleen Turner, Thomas wanted too much money to return. So she was gone, so she couldn't write it. And then Robert Zemeckis also signed on to work with Spielberg to make
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
Future.
Drink. In their stead, Douglas hired 2 TV writers, Mark Rosenthal and Lawrence Connor. Now, this is a really deep pull, but I have mentioned these 2 before.
I will not remember.
Roar.
No, they wrote Superman 4, Quest for Peace.
Oh my God.
And
Of course
then,
they did.
So this was kind of like, I think their second movie or something like that. Anyway, but they mostly did TV. And then he hired director Louis Teague, who just directed Cujo, the scary dog movie.
Yeah.
Which clips of which are in what movie?
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yep.
We've come full circle.
Drink. Okay. So meantime, Douglas joined.
This is a shit show clip show.
Don't. Oh my God. I hate a clip show. Please. No. Never. We'll never do a clip show.
So meantime, Douglas joined Richard Attenborough, John Hammond. And he was a big director. He was a director mostly. And his film adaptation of A Chorus Line, he got Michael Douglas to play the director of the play. And Douglas loved that idea because it required less commitment for him because he's just the director and he didn't have to do any dancing. And he's like, I'll rest easy while I'm getting the sequel for Jewel of the Nile.
Yeah, spared no expense.
Kathleen Turner didn't want to make the sequel, saying the script had to be just as good as the first, which then that was never the case.
Right. Well, I mean, they didn't have this Cinderella.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't have Diane.
So, plus she was also meant to star in Tom Hanks in Money Pit. And she hated Rosenthal and Connor's script, calling it terrible, formulaic, and sentimental. And she wanted to pull out.
Is sentimental a bad thing?
I guess if it was a little too...
Like Lifetime movie.
Yeah, like a little too...
okay.
Like banana, like after school special.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Okay.
Everyone learns a lesson or some shit
Yeah,
by the end,
exactly.
you know?
But so she's like, I don't want to do the sequel. And then Fox...
reminded her of her contract.
Yes, and then sued her for $25 million for breach of contract.
Jesus.
And she was like, what the fuck? So...
What the fox?
Yeah. She starts talks to Michael Douglas, and he's like appealed to her. He's like asking whatever she needed, he will try to do it. Like, do for her so she feels comfortable about doing it.
Because he was still a producer on it, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So she demanded that Diane Thomas write a draft, or at the very least, give some ideas on how to fix it. So Douglas calls up Thomas and converses her for a little bit, and then gets some ideas. And then he did this while he was making A Chorus Line. So he filmed Chorus Line in the day, and at night he rewrote the script with Thomas's ideas in it.
Remember how in the first one, it was an actual stone? Yes. What about in this one? It's a guy.
Okay, to be fair, I think that's a very clever twist.
I do too.
I
do
think
too.
a very thing for a sequel is to be like, oh, they're once again looking for another jewel,
It's another
right?
MacGuffin.
Another
I mean,
MacGuffin.
They're all MacGuffins.
Yes,
Yeah.
but like to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's actually a very clever twist of that movie. How it happens is kind of like anticlimactic.
Well,
It was kind of like...
And what it means and what he means and why his
It's very
character was
vague.
important is
Super vague.
so fucking confusing.
Lisa asked me, he's like, so wait, he's the jewel? I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, what does that mean? I was like, well, it's like a religious title. And she's like, yeah, but what is he supposed to do? Like,
I have
they
no
don't
fucking
they,
idea.
They
know,
don't
like,
say anything.
but as I was watching, I was like, he kind of just like dances around like a goofball.
Yeah.
And like they love him for it.
Yeah.
And, like this like literal clown, like not like, like, oh, this clown, but like,
Like he's like a comic relief element. Yeah.
and like he's supposed to unite these people.
Yeah.
Okay.
At a rock concert.
Yeah.
At a
Desert.
rock concert.
It's yeah. No, it makes no fucking sense. And it
Yeah.
literally both movies are like, we're trying to get a thing to a place. and that's unimportant. The important thing is what happens along the way.
Yeah.
Like that's all it means.
The
yeah.
lessons you learn along the
Oh.
way.
It's not about the destination. It's
Don't
about
get
the
sentimental
journey.
on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck you, man.
So there's also a third script that was rewritten by an unknown script doctor.
Yeah, it was a haunted house one.
Yeah.
It was George Lucas saying, "What? Listen,
oh,
hear
listen.
me out. Haunted house.
And
George,
Listen, we have a jewel of the Nile. We have the stone. What about a crystal skull?
in a haunted house. Boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
They're like, sit the fuck down.
Why not
George.
aliens?
Yeah.
George, go write your next Star Wars movie, and we all know how that turned out.
Okay, so based off of this movie, Clint, where does it take place?
I don't know.
That's so interesting.
Because like they say we got to go to Egypt.
Do they?
No, they go to Kadir. I don't know if there's a real place. It's not a real place. Like it's not a real.
It's not a real country.
It's not a real country.
No,
It's
they always they keep saying the Nile,
Yeah.
and me and January were like,
Oh, Egypt. They're in Egypt.
Every time they said the
Yeah.
Nile, we just put Egypt in our
Yeah.
mind. And we were like, after the movie was over, I was looking up and it was like, it takes place in a fictional country. And I was like, no, they say Egypt like 5 times in this
It's like,
movie.
we go to yeah.
And then I rewatched the whole beginning with subtitles on. Nope, nobody ever says Egypt.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
So it's like-
he comes downstairs and is like, hey, where did Jewel of the Nile take place? And I was like, Egypt, duh, you dumb dummy. And he's like, did it? And then I had a moment. He was like fucking Mandela affecting me. I was like, wait, shit, maybe they weren't actually in Egypt.
This fictional country was the Wakanda of the Diane Thomas verse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The John Wilder.
Pretty much.
Yes, it's completely fictional, but they filmed in Morocco. So Kathleen Turner gets on a plane to Morocco, and she's reading this new draft that Douglas did, and she's furious. She's like, it's not better. And she felt duped by Douglas, and she's yelling about this on the plane. She's sitting there just like, this is not what I meant to do, blah, blah, blah. And she's yelling about it. Rosenthal and Connor are a few rows back.
Oh, and they wrote it.
Oh shit! They just slowly put some newspapers over their
Yeah.
face. They're like, ooh,
The script.
oh, this is real awkward.
God, your
Wait,
name
who
is on the
who was she yelling? So this was a commercial.
Maybe her assistant
This
or
was
something.
a commercial flight.
No, but it was
Some
it was,
poor sucker next to her on the plane's like, "Ma'am, I don't know what you're talking
I know.
about."
If it was now,
I've
everybody-
never seen Romancing the Stone.
if it were now, everybody get their phones out and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what's going
Yeah.
on here?"
Yeah.
And she'd be duct taped to her seat.
Yeah.
Miss
She's
Turner,
going on about
Miss
something
Turner,
about the jewel
Miss
of
Turner,
some Nile.
we're gonna have to ask you to calm the fuck down, or you're gonna get duct taped to your seat.
She doesn't even know what country she's going to.
Yeah.
She's talking about some Sidar country in Africa. Never heard of that place.
Yeah. So she gets to her hotel and she starts arguing with Michael Douglas, and they compromise and they lay out all 3 of the scripts on the floor.
We were trading pages to get a script that was acceptable to both of us. It was, I'll do this if you'll do that. It was frustrating.
So they took 3 different scripts and just did a mix and match.
Wow.
And knowing the end product of this film, it's kind of amazing that it is comprehensible. Like
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
It has a thorough line. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
has some good lines in it. Like
I mean, I'm literally imagining that they just went and just like tossed pages up in the air, and then we're just like and like just put
Right.
them back together, and it's like, here's the movie.
There were
Yeah.
a couple of things about it that I was just like scratching my head. I was like, why did they get in that jet?
oh
Why-
yeah.
Why is there a jet? And then I was like, why are they at a rock concert? Like this seems like a really strange like MAGA rally.
Yeah, no.
Well,
I mean that was essentially what it was, right?
Right.
But it's yes, there is a lot of context and much needed exposition that did not happen. Like,
Yeah.
who's the jewel? Why is this guy evil? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
like
No,
you
know,
just-
What's the conflict? What's the
Yeah.
core
yeah,
religious political conflict
Yeah.
at the heart of this movie? Again, kind of fucking doesn't matter, I guess.
yeah,
It's also a MacGuffin.
Yeah,
somehow.
because like now that I think about it, like I watched this, today, and I'm thinking like, why was he so important? And why did everybody care? And like, It seemed like somebody kidnapped your funny cousin, and you just had to get him back. You
Who
know,
was definitely, by the way, not any kind of North African. He was like some Jewish dude.
Okay, well we're gonna get to that.
no, but when you say like the script, like I'm thinking about it, it makes so much sense because Michael Douglas's dialogue and the way he like played Jack Colton felt so off. Because his lines and his dialogue that he had in *Romancing the Stone* like felt like very like everyday kind of
Yeah.
Right.
relatable kind of loner guy. And I was like, yeah, like when he's like, oh, I should have listened to my mother. Like that stuff was funny.
Yeah.
But in this stuff, he's just like, meh, you don't love me anymore, and my boat blew up. Meh. Like fuck you. Yeah, it felt really,
Very
He's-
white male privilege.
Yeah.
My sailboat was exploded.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael. All the context and exposition pages slid underneath the bed in that moment.
Yeah,
And
they
we
have
were
no
like,
idea what
I'll do this.
hold on a second.
There was a page 7 in here, wasn't there? Ah, fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's
Ooh,
just skip
it's
it.
fine.
And now they're in a jet.
She's just screaming at everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, man.
We're going to take it down here a bit. 2 weeks before filming, production designer Richard Docking and location manager Brian Coates were in a plane location scouting southern Morocco. Something happens. They are both killed, along with pilot Richard Koch. 2 weeks before filming, so they lose these two guys, and it was just like bad omen, right?
Yeah.
What was the something there? Just like a plane
They don't
crash
know.
or like
They
oh,
don't. The
geez.
plane crashed, but they don't know
Oh.
why.
Mm.
Like
Oh, I
something
see. Okay.
happened.
Man.
It took them a while to find them.
Ooh.
That's
yeah.
rough.
Yeesh.
Okay, so on a lighter note, let's talk about racism.
Oh God, do we have to?
Okay, so
I'm
When
really,
I
I'm really
watched-
sweaty and uncomfortable.
when I watched this, I actually was kind of surprised at how not racist it was.
Mm.
But that could just be me from my white man complex of just being like, oh, that's what Egypt is like, or fake African country is
Right.
like.
Right.
But it seemed kind of more interesting, like how like the revolutionaries were like they all had like boom boxes and headphones and stuff. Like it was kind of like it didn't make them like all savages or anything like you would expect to see or something like from
Right.
a movie from the 80s.
Yeah.
And so I was
It
like,
did definitely pick. I felt like it was they took like a lot of different like clothing and cultural aspects and like stuff from just all over Africa and the Middle East, and they were just like whoop, and they like smooshed
Yes,
them all
yeah.
together to like make this
Yeah.
like this country of people that didn't exist.
Lisa the whole time was like, wait, so where does this take place? And I said, like, well, it's supposed to be Egypt. And I was like, but this evil dude's played by a Greek, and then this Jewel of the Nile dude's played by this Jewish dude from Brooklyn. Like it's just like, so where are they? And I was like, I honestly don't know.
It doesn't matter, quite frankly.
It doesn't, as long as they get him to that rock and roll concert.
It's interesting though the fact that they did kind of place it in a fictional country, because maybe you can get away with that more, but it did feel like they were just like, and we're gonna take turbans, and we're gonna take African tribes, and we're gonna take this, and we're gonna and just like smooshed it all
Yeah,
together into
that's-
like a mishmash.
I think about that, and I think about again, I was just kind of comparing it to Wakanda, a completely fictional country. And
Right.
you know why Wakanda works is because they got people from the area it's supposed to represent and be like, okay, what should we do? What
Yeah.
should it look like? What
Yeah.
should the culture be like? And then we get something cool like Wakanda.
Mhm.
Not so much with Jewel in the Nile.
Yeah,
well,
no,
I
no,
mean,
it's
it's probably one script had very tribal people, one script had
Yeah.
Middle East, and one
Prob-
had
So in the hotel room,
Yeah,
like, I'll do
again-
this tribal thing if you let. I'll let you do this tribal thing if you let me have these turbans.
camels. I just want camels.
yeah, the fact that they did a whole like script. What are those like money grab machines? They're, like,
Oh yeah,
they like
just
went
stick
into
'em
a
in-
giant tube and like of script pages and were just grabbing them out of the air. Like, kind of makes a lot of sense.
Whatever
now.
you get, you keep.
Yeah, this is what we have to film now.
That's actually not a bad idea for like a script. Like
Just
it's
to see what happens.
just to see what
what the hell
happens.
happens.
Get 3 different
Yeah.
writers, and just give 'em, like a basic outline. They write 3 different scripts, and then you just put them in that thing and just whatever shakes out, and then film that. That would
Yeah.
be so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so the racism thing we're gonna go into as I was diving into it. Again, I think that obviously Danny DeVito says the most racist stuff
Oh yeah.
by far in
Yeah.
there. But I do think it's kind of fun that he turns and he becomes one of the tribe or
Well,
one
he
of the
was
revolutionaries.
I mean, he was that guy even in the first one though too, where he was just like, oh, he's like goddamn Colombians. I got to get back to America. Like he was kind of the racist guy in the first one too.
Which I mean is fine for a bad guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But so then I was diving into the making of the movie, and then I was like, oh yeah, a lot of this is a bit problematic. Why is there so much juggling?
Holy shit. We need to talk about this juggling for literally an hour. What the fuck?
I saw in the credits, like all the brothers, like it was like some circus act.
That's
yeah,
what it is.
Yes.
The Flying Karamazov brothers.
They're not really brothers.
No,
Because
it's a
like
California juggling and comedy troupe.
Jesus.
All white guys who have Russian stage personas. So they play the revolutionaries, and one of them plays the main assassin, Tarak,
Right.
who is like the guy at the beginning that tries to kill the Sultan. And
So
then,
they're not even actually Russian?
and they're not even Middle
The
Eastern.
layers.
They're just white guys.
The layers. They're just like, hey, what's up? We're just like some white bros from California surfing.
juggling.
Surfing and juggling. You know how we do.
Got a new act where we juggle our surfboards, bro.
But like,
Okay, so that explains
I have
why.
so many. I'm sorry. I have so many questions about this. I'm very concerned.
Yeah, it's very weird, right?
Yes.
Because I kind of assumed that the main guy that main guy Tarak was,
Yeah.
and because he's in it the whole time, but nope, completely not. Just a white dude.
Just a white
And-
guy pretending to be a Russian guy, pretending to be a guy from North Africa. You know, standard stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's what kind of washing is that? You know how they're like they call like
Yeah.
rolls are like, oh, that roll was whitewashed. What?
Yeah.
That's like 7 layers of paint. That's-
Where it falls on the racism scale of white guys who pretending to be Russian, who pretending to be from a Middle East, from a made up country,
from a fictional Middle Eastern
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
Ooh, they muddied it just enough.
Yeah.
Now,
It's almost
where
so
it gets-
confusing that you go, is that racist? And then you go,
Yeah.
yes, it is.
Yes.
so, but
Yeah.
that explains why they juggle so much in the goddamn movie.
So fucking stupid.
um,
I have so many questions. Like, why the casting? First of all,
why?
listen.
I have so many questions.
Though,
It's just why?
why? But like, in the casting process, were they just like, juggling is really big right now. We need to get you guys. I swear, juggling is gonna fucking take off. People are gonna be so stoked on the juggling in this movie. Like, why even cast? Like, okay, if you told me like, oh yeah, they cast like 3 non-juggling white guys, I'd be like, well, that's shitty, but like that's kind of how stuff went back in the day in Hollywood, right? That happened all the time.
That was in the script that Rosenthal and Connor wrote. That was the original.
They're like
juggling?
They're like friends with the troupe.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm wondering. Like,
Yeah, and they go and see their act. Like these
We
guys
have to
are,
put them in.
these
you
guys are
guys,
amazing.
listen. And then unfortunately, in the paper throw up, the juggling was one of the pages that happened to be kept.
Yep.
Why? Like,
No, there was just someone went through with a stamp that said juggle, juggling.
Yeah.
like, and it just went through the script, and there needs to be juggling here.
here,
Yep.
could we add a little more juggling? There's not quite enough. I think you're right though. I think those 2 jabronis went and saw a juggling act, and they were just like fucking stoked on juggling.
According to
Right.
the biography, it said that like because it was kind of having a troubled start, Douglas was trying to kind of amp up the press for it, and like, hey, we're gonna have Kathleen Turner's back and Danny DeVito, and we have the troupe. Like he said something like, hey, isn't that cool? We're gonna have these guys, which is weird because that only plays to the people in LA that would
Yeah.
know who that troupe is.
Oh yeah.
It's a very niche
Yes.
LA juggling fans.
Yeah.
It's a very niche audience.
Even Diane Tom was like, "What the fuck are these guys?"
Okay.
It seems so out of place too, because like there was like a big battle scene and one of them guys was juggling. I'm like, what the hell? Like if I was the guy fighting, I'm just like, what the stab.
I mean, I guess maybe that's a good battle strategy. It was just
someone
like,
else comes up
it's
behind
so
him and-
surprising where they're just like you're just so shocked that juggling is happening in front of you that
It's
you
like
don't
General
see.
Grievous in front of you.
Yeah.
Spinning lightsabers.
I mean, I would probably get stabbed in the back because I was distracted by juggling, to be honest,
Yeah.
because it was very distracting.
Okay. This troupe also plays the Flying Sandoz brothers
Oh my god!
from an episode of television where one of them magically makes a borrowed jacket disappear. The guy that plays Turok goes up into the booth right next to the stage, and he goes, "Give me your jacket." And then he goes, "I'm going to make it disappear." And then he throws it into the audience.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And that jacket belongs to the Friars Club.
It's not. Is it Seinfeld? No, it's not. Is it
It's
Seinfeld?
Seinfeld.
Oh my god! Okay, you were describing the scene, and I was like, I have seen this scene. I know the scene, but I couldn't fucking remember the show. Oh my god!
So the episode of the Friars Club, Jerry goes to
and
a
he has to
restaurant.
borrow the jacket from the
borrow the
restaurant,
jacket to go to the
yeah.
restaurant, and then
And
they
yada,
go
yada,
to the
yada.
show, yada yada,
Yeah.
and then he goes to the show, and they go see this troupe, and then they have a
Okay.
whole fight with them. They go to their dressing room, and they all have like arguments with them about that, and they
Right.
kind of pretend like they're Russian and they don't speak English and stuff like that.
Right.
Again, you can see these guys, all these white guys, but they're very clearly like, "Oh yeah, that's the guy that played Turok." Like,
Oh man.
Why? Like also,
so drink on Seinfeld. Al Juhara, the Jewel, is played by Avner the Eccentric, aka Avner Eisenberg,
Yeah.
a professional clown / mime / juggler from where? Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh my god!
Oh.
You guys.
So
You can.
he is clearly in brownface.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then.
They kinda
yes,
all were.
very obviously, but like they focus on him close up so much, and he has a lot of like one-on-one conversations with Kathleen Turner, right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, this dude's in brown face.
Yeah.
It was the 80s. That's how it went back then. Okay, but this additional, again, the mime and clown and juggling element, why? Why? Clint, why?
Well, okay. All religion is silly. Okay. I'll just go ahead and say it.
It's just
All religion is silly, and I apologize to anybody who's religious that listens to the show that finds that offensive. In my own humble personal opinion, religion is silly. So what better way to portray that than with a juggling, umbrella balancing, brown
Dancing
faced
man.
clown? Yeah. All religion is silly.
that's, I mean, okay, fair. That feels very South Park of you, by the way.
Yeah.
It's very Trey and Matt. I brought it back.
Oh yeah, Team
Drink.
America.
Team America. Okay, I'm not going to ask about the juggling anymore. Look, it happened. We
Moving on.
all just know it's there. We're going to move on.
Okay, filming in Morocco. Daytime reached temperatures of 120 degrees consistently.
Danny DeVito even says that in the show. He's like, it's 120 degrees in the shade.
Yeah.
That was just him complaining to the.
Yeah, he didn't know the cameras were on.
He's like, oh fuck! They're like, yeah, we're just gonna put that in the movie.
Flash floods wiped out 2 different sets. Half the crew were Hollywood specialists, and the other were Moroccan locals. Douglas, however, was really annoyed at the locals' inexperience and especially their dedication, because he's like, oh, this is my movie, I gotta make it, And anyone not caught pulling their weight were fired.
Yeah, these Moroccans are like, bro, we don't give a fuck about your movie.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not Star Wars, bro.
Yeah.
You're not that important. This is Jewel of the fucking Nile, my dude.
Yeah.
The Nile's not even in this country.
Yeah.
Homie, you're in denial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working out in the desert, everyone was housed in tents that still reached 100 degrees. At one point, some of the crew demanded hotel rooms with AC, and Douglas, who was with them in the same tents doing this, and he's not complaining, he's the producer, he asked if anyone else wasn't happy with what they had can quit. And those who still protested were fired.
Damn.
What a hard ass.
Yeah, he got real like,
He got
we
real.
gotta get through this.
He got
Jeez.
real producery in
Yeah.
that moment.
One of the biggest problems with the crew came in the form of Ramadan, an annual fast for Muslims where they cannot eat or drink during daylight hours for an entire month. Hard to do when you're in 100-degree weather.
Yeah, you're going to get dehydrated.
Yeah, exactly, right? So the production was just like, wait, what? Now all our crew is just like starving and passing out. And so they're like, okay, we have to go to night shoots because we have to move over. And Douglas was furious at his two production managers who missed this detail about all their hiring and their scheduling.
It wasn't in their calendar.
Yeah, and he fired them.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty big detail to miss.
I
Like,
was going to say.
where are we
probably-
filming? Morocco. Okay, what things do we have to work around?
Yeah, it's
in
pretty
this
like
country.
pretty white guy kind of
Yeah,
like,
it's-
it'll be fine.
It's
Yeah.
very like.
We're not shooting
yeah.
during Christmas. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Props and rigs were not properly built and wouldn't work. So like things guns wouldn't go off, or like when she was supposed to fall through the roof, like it wasn't working, stuff like that. And that required delays for the day and then reshoots to go back and get it right.
Why is this plane not taking off?
Yeah, you're right. The jet is not real. It was made of wood, styrofoam, and fiberglass, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because I read that before that movie when we were watching it, and I was like, "That's a pretty good." Whoever made that prop was pretty good.
Yeah.
When he blows up the plane with the flare gun, he's like, "That's for Angelina, his boat." And I was like,
Yeah.
"I'm pretty sure that Sultan dude can afford another plane."
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
You're not really hurting him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the blame for the issues centered around Louis Teague, the director, who was out of his league.
Nah. Yeah, that's you
Out of his Justice League.
No,
There we go. Drink.
Drink. You son of a bitch.
Reports claim he seemed really overwhelmed by the production of this scale because the biggest thing he did was Cujo, which is
About a dog.
attacking people in a car,
Right.
and for the whole movie.
He's like, now I'm suddenly in Morocco. I got jugglers to worry about. I got styrofoam
happening?
and fiberglass jets.
He probably was just like, I don't know what to put in this scene. Hey, you guys do some juggling.
This is not going well. Hurry, juggle.
Yeah.
Distract everybody.
Just film some juggling. Okay. The big finale in the square, the rock concert, the
Yes.
MAGA rally for Omar, where he gives
Yeah.
his big speech. They had hundreds of extras. As you see lots of that shots of how many people are actually there because they didn't do that digitally then. And they start shooting, only to discover that what happened?
A fight broke out.
None of the sound equipment worked.
Close.
Cameras weren't rolling.
There was no film in the cameras.
Oh,
Oh,
my
shit.
God. Oh, that second AC is going to get so fired.
And they couldn't find the film stock.
Oh,
That second AC was fired as fuck.
wow.
By the time they did find the film stock, they had already sent everybody home.
Jesus. Where the hell was it?
I don't know.
Kind of something you shouldn't misplace.
Yeah, of all the
ever.
things, we're making a film.
A film. A flim.
Yeah, Douglas, this was the point he just blew a gasket.
Yeah.
I
I mean, I probably would too.
It should be noted that the cinematographer was Jan de Bont,
Oh.
who we've talked about before. He directed Speed and Twister,
Yeah, I was gonna say speed.
and he also had 120 stitches
Because
for
of
Roar.
for Roar.
Oh, I'm so glad we got back to Roar. That
Where-
fucking movie, man.
where he was almost scalped.
Oh, Jan. That's why he forgot where the film was.
It's
He was
Jan's fault.
traumatized.
It's just
He's like, sorry, I don't remember so good ever since Roar. I'm not sure why.
why aren't there tigers in here?
Yeah. It's a fictional country. We could put lions in here, right?
Yeah, I know a guy.
Yeah.
There's- Look, I could have upwards of 70 lions here in 2 days. Give
Yeah,
me 2 days.
I could
I'll
do
get
it.
you 70 lions.
Tigers?
And
Got
maybe
those
some
too.
tigers.
Omar seems like the kind of guy who would have a lion, right?
Multiple
Oh, yeah.
lions.
Yeah, he's got a jet. What are some lions?
But unless it's juggling, I don't want to see it.
Juggling lions.
Hell yeah. Now listen, now that I'd pay to see.
Oh my God, you would not be out of place, right?
Yeah, I would. At that point, I would just be like, "Yep,
Yeah, this is happening.
Might as well take place in a haunted house.
yeah."
Okay, 3 days from finishing in Morocco, they still need to go to France to do the opening bit. The crew starts getting sick. Moroccan Health Services comes down, says there's an outbreak of hepatitis among the crew.
Whoa.
And they are asked to quarantine in Morocco for 6 weeks.
Oh, my God.
Oh God.
Douglas is like, fuck no. Like, we're done. What do I need to make this go away? And the health service guy goes like, well, for the fees for avoiding a quarantine, $2.5 million.
Whoa.
Holy shit.
Line item, hepatitis.
Yeah. Hepatitis bribe, hepatitis payout. That feels like something you shouldn't be able to money your way out of.
Right?
Like,
80s, man.
dude, yeah, I guess.
Getting
back
away with all
then.
sorts of shit.
Yeah, the health minister's just like, 2.5 million.
You
And
throw
Michael Douglas is like, joke's on you. You don't know how much I hate being here,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
exactly.
throw in a performance by the Karakamov brothers in the we'll call it Square.
Tell them to come to my daughter's
My
birthday.
daughter's birthday party.
Bring that clown from Georgia too.
Douglas finds out much later that it was just food poisoning.
No.
But they still paid it.
Fucking, were you serious?
Oh, dude, they got him good.
They're all,
Okay.
this is for messing with our Ramadan.
Yeah, probably.
Morocco filming comes to an end. Time to pack up and move to France. Douglas and everyone are clearly just like sick of this place. Like we got to get out of here. So he charters 2 planes to get everyone out in one go. A 737, so he can put all the crew on there, and a Russian army transport, so they
For
can
just the Karkaroff brothers.
so they can juggle
Those-
while the
Those
plane's
juggling
going.
pieces of shit. So
You love
God-
being Russian so much, have a Russian truck.
Yeah. No, so they drive like their cranes in their costume trucks, just pull it
Oh.
right onto the thing and just be able to fly it out
Fly
of
it
there,
out
right?
of there, yeah.
But they still have to. It's just they're in the middle of the desert, so they still have to go to a real airport, right?
Airport, yeah.
And so Douglas personally talks with the customs guy and bribes him to let all their equipment pass without issues and make their departure international, so they can just go straight to France.
Whoa.
And the guy's like, "Well, sure." Just hands him just a
Wad of cash.
envelope of cash.
This was supposed to be our hepatitis cash, but here you go.
Opens it up and it's just one of the dejected jewels
Jewels.
from from romancing.
He's like, wink, this is worth a lot of money.
Yeah, it's really a lot. Okay, the planes arrive early morning. They load all their trucks and the cranes and all that stuff and get it on. Crew gets on the 737. They're just like, oh, fucking hell. Get out of here. By the time they are ready to leave, the runway is too hot to take off.
Oh.
And they remain parked on the runway until sunset.
So they're all ready to go, and they're just
Sounds.
Sat all day.
oh geez.
Just
This
like
is
the
like-
ultimate insult.
I'm just imagining like Michael Douglas just having a full like meltdown, just having a full ass
It's like,
meltdown.
you think Kathleen Turner's freak out on the plane coming here was bad?
He's like, you just wait, motherfuckers.
They land in France illegally.
Oh, that's so funny.
And then they're just, Michael Douglas kind of glazes over that part, but I'm assuming he probably had to pay a fine there too.
I know.
He
he's
did
like,
a yada yada yada. He
Yeah.
was like, so then we get out of Morocco, we're in France, yada yada yada.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
finish the movie.
Yeah. Quite literally, that's the audio. I could play that exact audio.
We're sitting there, waiting there, like the cavalry, waiting. And then finally, got the sunset, got cooler. We took off, arrived in Nice. Where are your papers? I said, I don't care. Arrest me, sue me. I'm not going and we finished the pitch.
Okay. October 1985. Diane Thomas, her boyfriend Stephen Norman, and a friend had a night of drinking. To get home, it was decided that the boyfriend was the least drunk and should drive her Porsche. She was in the back seat. Now, if you've ever seen a back seat of a Porsche, it's not really a seat at all. After a rainstorm, he lost control at 80 miles per hour, hitting a power pole. Diane Thomas was killed on impact. The friend died 2 hours later. The boyfriend survived. Diane Thomas was 39.
Oh.
Jeez.
So
Yeah.
the end of her Cinderella story, that I remember reading that, very kind of getting choked up. Like, how cool was that? Her first big break,
Yeah.
really great film. Gets in with Spielberg? Jesus.
Right. And then just tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so what's her filmography though? Like so she wrote Romancing the Stone
And then has a partial credit on Always.
on Always. That's it?
That's it.
I think in Jewel of the Nile, I said based on characters by
Yeah. Her.
Diane Thomas.
Oh.
If you made it to the end of the credits, I know you walked away and I was like, you missed this. The film is dedicated to Richard Docking, Brian Coates, Richard Koch, and Diane Thomas.
Oh, that's nice.
So the 3 people that died in the plane crash and Diane Thomas.
How soon was that after like the movie? It
It
was
was
obviously
2
before the-
months before the movie, before Jewel of the Nile came out.
Oh wow.
Douglas actually spoke about the production troubles in 2019, so really recently. And he says in there that he lost 6 crew members in the plane crash. And I don't know how you get that wrong, especially since the film straight up says these 3 people is dedicated. But he talks about widowers trying to get their family members home. And so my guess is maybe those 3 were like married to other people that were part of the production. And so because they died, so they were no longer going to do the movie with them. I don't know how he
Oh.
could get that wrong.
That's a weird thing. That's a
weird thing to say. Like
That's a weird
I
connection to
lost. Well, yeah, I lost 6 crew members. Like, well, okay, 3 of them died, and then 3 of them were sent away on like bereavement. That's
Yeah.
not really.
make. And look, and if
Those
you're
are
talking
not the
about people that
same.
you lost, like you fired
Yeah.
a bunch,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
the
true
bunch
too.
quit. Like
yeah.
I don't know. It was confusing when I saw that, because if
Or-
it was actually 6 people, you would think they would put all 6 of those people inside the dedication.
Yeah.
Jewel of the Nile opened December 11th, 1985. Made 96 million worldwide, so almost as good as the last one,
Yeah.
off of a budget of 20 million.
mm.
I
Wow.
don't
So
know.
it cost $8 million more than the original.
Uh-huh. And I don't know if if the bribes were factored into
Oh,
that.
they have absolute. Well, I don't know. Guess it depends on how shady they want to be with their accounting practices.
right.
On Rotten Tomatoes, 46% by critics and 37% by audiences.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, that tracks.
Um,
Like, listen, everybody. Earlier, when I said this movie was not as bad as I thought it was going to be, that is accurate. That doesn't mean it's a good movie.
a chorus line opened 2 days later and bombed.
No shit.
So he had an up and down, Michael Douglas. Louis Teague pretty much didn't direct anything I've ever heard of since. Both of the films, the novelizations for them are attributed to Joan Wilder.
Nice.
Actually written by Catherine Langen. But I thought that was kind of funny.
That's fun.
The studio commissioned a 3rd script titled Crimson Eagle, written by Warren Scren, who would later write the screenplays for Beetlejuice and Tim Burton's Batman.
Oh.
Drink. Douglas was so destroyed and exhausted by Jewel of the Nile, he took a year off. And then 1989, The War of the Roses, a dark comedy about a married couple who try everything to get each other to leave the house in a vicious divorce battle. It's directed by Danny DeVito, starring him, Kathleen Turner, and Michael Douglas as the divorcing couple.
Oh,
So
people thought that was the sequel.
Yeah, right.
I mean, kind of cool,
This-
kind of
a
would work because they kind of
spiritual sequel.
because what's kind of actually clever about Jewel of the Nile is about how they clearly, flat out say that their relationship only works in crisis, right?
Yeah, I actually really loved that element of these movies, because her whole thing in the first one, right, is that she's a romance novelist and she's this like hopeless romantic,
She wants to be swept away.
and she wants to be swept away, and her publisher is like, this isn't real, you gotta just date, like, I hate seeing you alone, you gotta just date some dudes. And she's just like, no, I have to have this like grand adventure. And then that happens, and they get together and they go on this like romantic like whirlwind tour on the boat. Yeah, and then the second one opens and you're just like, this obviously isn't working because they knew each other for 5 minutes in an extremely intense situation where there's a lot of adrenaline.
Yeah.
And then like when that calms down,
What do you have left?
what the fuck do you have left?
Yeah, it's the Graduate, right?
Yeah, it's like it's the end of The Graduate when they're like big romantic moment, and then they're on the bus like, oh fuck,
what did we do?
What do we do now?
That's a cut I want to see where they're like on the boat at the end of Romancing the Stone, and all of a sudden, hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, for how much they profess to be like in love with each other or whatever, she like laters out of there real fast.
Oh yeah,
She's just like, look, I have an opportunity.
Based off of just some random guy's story.
Right.
this dude wants
Which
to
is very stupid, by
This
the way.
dude wants to take me to not Egypt.
Yeah. Look, this probably a dictator wants to take me to his country and have me write his autobiography.
Nothing suspect
So many red flags. And then of course Michael Douglas, instead of just being like, hey, there's a lot of red flags here that maybe you should like learn about this guy before you just jump into writing a biography about him to make sure he's not like, you know, a fictional African Hitler or something like that.
Exactly.
Like she does
Too bad there's no Google.
zero research. She's just like, sure, rich dude.
And she's gonna go with him like that day. Yeah.
Instead, he's like,
That night.
I'm going to Greece.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All he's mad about is that she's like making his trip sad. He's just like, but my boat. But I wanted to go to Greece on my boat.
I don't know if it was a deliberate thing, but it was funny when the movie first started and it's that pirate ship
Yeah.
portion.
Oh,
and
yeah,
January's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
they clearly don't have the budget anymore. And it's
It looked like shit.
yeah, but we were kind of like, I think that was actually it was or it wasn't on purpose. That it was because her novel was so bad
Yeah.
and she was so struggling, like
Yeah.
everything around it seems
Yeah.
terrible too.
I liked when she was talking to her publisher. She's like, I don't know what pirates look like. I don't know what pirates do. And I thought it was like, there was a pirate there who literally looked like Rufio
Yeah.
with a mohawk.
Yeah. So after that part of it, I'm like, okay, actually, I kind of love that. I love that she's trying to write this novel, and it's just shit. And so therefore, like, the visualization of it that we see from her head is like shitty and like very fake looking.
Yes,
I did.
whether it's intentional or not.
I choose to believe it was intentional.
I did think this one part was funny though, when they're hanging on by the over the pit, and he's like, what kind of psychopath, sadistic sicko would write this? And she's like, I wrote it.
Yeah,
It's from my book.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I always remember
Yeah.
about that movie. Always seeing that scene back when I was a kid, because that's a funny line. That's a good twist.
It was weird though. Okay, so like we were talking about in Romancing the Stone, there's that drug lord guy who's obsessed with her novels.
Yeah.
And that's like a really fun, funny twist. It seemed like in this one they were trying to replicate that with Omar, where they're like, he also is like aware of her and he's like, you're a really great writer, come write my biography. But it's like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you choose a romance novelist to write your biography unless you're trying to manipulate her?
He says that. He straight up says that.
Okay.
He's like, you're a shit writer. Like, you write stupid stuff. Of course, I thought it would be easy to dupe you.
Does he?
Yeah.
Did I black out? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then never mind. That makes sense. But it is very ironic, though, that he uses her. But okay, he says that, but then obviously he's read the books because he's using her own torture methods
exactly.
against her. So.
Or he had his assistant read it.
Methinks he doth protest too much.
Yeah.
He's got a secret stash of Joan Wilder books under his bed.
So Michael Douglas's goal to become a huge movie star after doing Romancing the Stone, he did Jewel of the Nile. After that, Fatal Attraction, Wall Street, War of the Roses, Basic Instinct, Falling Down, Disclosure,
love Falling Down,
Disclosure, The American President,
God,
The Ghost in the
Disclosure.
Darkness, The Game. So he had, there was a good 10 years where he was
hot shit.
hot shit.
Falling Down is such a crazy movie.
Yes. Joel Schumacher, drink.
Disclosure.
Disclosure.
Oh boy, that's a wild ride.
Okay, so Kathleen Turner kind of pulled away from the public eye and acting, and she mostly does teaches acting now, but she kind of just lets loose on her thoughts on lots of things, and
I love it.
there was one point where the people just ask her a name, and then she just kind of free associates. Okay, this is her on Michael Douglas.
Oh, I give him respect and credibility, of course, and he gives me a devil-may-care, laissez-faire attitude. In truth, he was a misogynist. We had lunch not long ago, and he may be different now, but I don't think he would have liked me finding my power as his wife, so, it's probably a good thing.
So that goes back to what we were saying about how she was a sexual target.
Right.
Like how if she got him, she was like, fuck no, he couldn't be able to handle me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. He wouldn't have liked me finding my power. Get it, Kathleen?
Yeah. Okay, on Danny DeVito. Okay, they're friends, but okay.
He provides a sickness, the tastelessness, that dark underside. It's like being groped all day long. Being somewhat short, he gets to casually drape his arm around parts of your anatomy that no one usually would.
That's funny. He's 4'10".
Yeah.
Listen, as also a
As a
short
short
person, I feel like I couldn't get away with that. Casually draping my arm on people's anatomy.
But overall, this is what she said about working with the two of them.
With Michael and Danny, too, I think they saw me as one of the guys, I was willing to throw myself down mountainsides, and when we did the sequel, Jewel of the Nile, the sense of coming back together was so cool. It was nice to be back with friends.
So no hard feelings between them all.
Friends that she just, slagged off, 5 seconds ago. Well, he's an absolute misogynistic, perverted son of a bitch, but it was
I
so
love
good
him.
to be back. That guy. I'd be like me being like, oh, Ian and Clint, those misogynistic pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Love doing that podcast with them.
Right?
Racist,
They
but-
got an underside to him. And when I do that show with them, it feels like I'm getting groped all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. What a weird way of putting it.
Feels like you're getting groped.
I don't know if she's alluding to the fact that he likes to grab people's asses. I don't know.
I've heard nothing but just wonderful things about working with Danny DeVito.
In 2000,
Well, but see, okay, hold on. I'm going back to this quote. She says, it's like being groped all day not long.
I know.
So she's being metaphorical there.
But then she quite literally
I don't
says
know.
that he's where he's putting his arm.
Sure.
is
Is she confusing? Does she think that Danny DeVito is actually Frank Reynolds? She watched a couple episodes of Sunny and she's like, oh, Danny.
That's actually him.
Yeah.
Lastly, in 2005, it was announced Douglas was making a third film titled Racing the Monsoon that kind of disappeared for a while and then resurfaced in 2008, where Douglas played Jack Colton again, but his new wife, Catherine Zeta-Jones, was announced as his co-star. And Matt Damon was supposed to be in an unknown role, to be directed by Steve Carr, who directed such classics as Dr. Dolittle 2, Daddy Daycare, Are We Done Yet, and Paul Blart, Mall Cop.
Yeah. National treasures, those ones.
It would take place in India and would have been the first Hollywood/Bollywood co-production. No idea what happened to this movie. It just disappeared. The last thing you could ever see of it was they were like, hey, we're going to do it with Bollywood and Matt Damon's with us and nothing else.
Is
Just disappeared.
a Holly Bolly crossover? Bollywood was like, we don't need you. We are our own industry.
Right.
In 2001, a remake was circling with Katherine Heigl and Taylor Kitsch or Gerard Butler.
In 2001? Sorry, I was
Not
wrong.
needed.
2011.
Okay.
Not needed.
Yeah, I agree.
Unnecessary.
And I hate that idea. Although Gerard Butler, maybe.
Yeah, because Taylor Kitsch.
Oh, and absolutely.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Katherine Heigl.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Again, not necessary.
I agree.
Remaking this film is unnecessary in every sense of the word. Just please don't do it.
Right.
All right. Was the Jewel of the Nile, was it worth it?
No. I'm going to say no.
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 For the film stock going missing and the 120 degrees, like all this shit aside, those three individuals who died, it definitely is not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For that. But I mean, it felt like they were trying to capture lightning in a bottle again. because
right.
Romancing the Stone was fun. It was a fun romantic
Mhm.
action adventure romp, and I really want to throw some weed on a campfire now. But with Jewel of the Nile, I feel like they tried to recapture that, and it just things were not falling into place. And
Yeah.
Michael Douglas was so unwilling to just give it up, and it did not work in his favor.
Yeah,
No.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing. It's like this movie's kind of a big like nothing burger. Like it's just like, brr. And the first one was great. And like if the first one had just been the first one and had
Its own thing.
been its own a one and done, would have been totally fine.
Yeah.
I don't think that this. I know that you said like after Jewel of the Nile, like it kind of launched him into stardom, and he went and did all these amazing movies and was like this like heartthrob in the 80s and 90s. But like I feel like that would have just happened
Yeah,
anyway.
because
Yeah.
romancing was so big.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, yeah, it's completely unnecessary. I mean, maybe it did something for the juggling world. We'll never know. I feel like no,
Juggling
though.
films
I-
peaked.
Yeah, right?
In
Yeah.
85.
I mean, because like I don't feel like I've seen a lot of juggling films after this, so
Yeah.
obviously there wasn't any, like
It did for juggling what Team America did for marionettes.
yeah,
Yeah.
where people were like, "That's all we needed to see of that. Goodbye forever." That was it. I don't need any more juggling in my films.
Just like a jacket, just
Yeah.
disappeared.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Not worth it. All the shit that they did, the people who died, and all the crap that they had to go through. And I mean, I think it's a competent movie considering all of that. Like,
Considering the script cash grab.
yeah, exactly. I would say like, and you pointed this out. The first 20 minutes are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Her writing a shitty novel, like kind of a shitty pirate thing, and like that's kind of clever, and how they're already dealing with the fact that their honeymoon phase is already over.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a really great way to follow that
Right.
relationship, right?
And even
And then like the setup is really cool with his boat being blown up. and,
right. I was gonna
like,
say like it's so like fun and
sentimental.
unsentimental. Yeah. Where they're just like, hey, that boat he worked so hard for in the first one, we're blowing it up in the
Yeah.
first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that was a fun like little detail where it's kind of just like like they just
Yeah.
blow up everything from the first movie and like start over. But
Yeah.
then after that it just goes off the rails.
Yeah, and
That train scene too.
well, speaking of the train scene and the jet scene,
Yeah.
Louis Teague, I'm gonna put it on him, but like the action in that movie is so lethargic.
Oh, it absolutely
It's
is.
so boring.
And I thought like the music for it too, like
I don't even remember it.
right?
Yeah,
Look at-
like, no.
For first, you're right though, because like those action scenes were very lethargic, but the thing that really kind of punched that up of being just so boring was the boring music where it's just like do 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 do.
Oh, was it like a synth score?
I didn't even notice. I
Yeah.
didn't
I don't even
remember.
No, I was
remember.
I was watching it. I was like,
Yeah, yes, why you fell asleep. Okay, that's so funny that you say
Was
that
also
because
the guy who did the Seinfeld theme.
I was pulling up screen caps for like the artwork and assets for the podcast and whatnot, and I was watching that scene, the jet scene, and I had it on mute while I was listening to Spider-Man No Way Home soundtrack. Dun, 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 dun. And I was sitting there playing during the jet scene. It's like, this is so much better.
yeah,
Like this is actually making it a little bit more interesting.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Because that scene just goes on for
Is.
a long, and it's not very fun.
No.
And the train sequence just goes on, and then the ending is just kind of like all the action is terrible.
Yeah.
Like in Romancing the Stone, it's like really fun. Like where they're in the gunfight and they jump across the bridge or swing across
Yeah.
the chasm, and then the drug lord in his trucks, and they're giving him a tour.
yeah.
Yeah.
All really good stuff. But this is just, and that really kills the movie because it's supposed to be an action adventure,
Yeah.
and it's not fun.
And it's a political juggling movie is
Yeah.
what it turned
Yeah.
out to be.
I will say though, the coolest thing in the movie is the cork catch. Did you notice this?
Oh yeah, that was badass.
What happened?
In the beginning of the movie when they're in France, they're at that party. It's a close up shot of a guy pushing off the cork off of a champagne glass, and it's really close up. And right when it pops up, Michael Douglas leans in and he just catches the cork.
Really?
Yeah,
I missed that.
So
it's like
fucking
that's a baller move.
Right?
I think there was an edit. Like, I think if you look real close, there was like a frame where you could see like a.
Maybe.
But it was very Jack Colton. Like
Yeah.
that. Like the first 20 minutes of that movie, he felt like the same character from the movie before, where he's just like, I'm just here to jet ski, and then the rest of it was like, I don't even remember what the hell he did.
It was until they got to the party where things started to kind of unravel.
Yeah.
For me, anyway.
Right.
That's gonna be the title of my new screenplay that I'm never gonna
Catching
finish.
the cork.
Catch the Cork by Clint Erickson.
Yep.
We start on a scene of juggling.
Yep.